I said, who do you serve?
We are the shadows.
That served the light.
When it comes to the Assassin's Creed franchise, I kind of feel like a neglectful father. I feel like someone who's lost track of how many kids they have, and I, at this point, have no idea how many birthday cards I need to send out. Because I've never played the original Assassin's Creed game, I never played Unity or Syndicate, I've never played the new RPG trilogy either, even though I think they look fun as hell. But I do own all of them. I buy the new Assassin's Creed game every time a new one comes out with the 100% pure intention of playing it, because I did play Assassin's Creed 3 way back in the day, and I played the Ezio trilogy, and I absolutely loved them. But it's been well over a decade since I played these games, but I loved them so much that the Assassin's Creed franchise as a whole has held a special place in my heart, and that's why I keep buying them despite not playing them. But fast forward to today, to 2025, not only is yet another new Assassin's Creed game out now, but it takes place in a setting that fans have been begging for what feels like literal decades. I'm not even joking, by the way. I'm sure if you're a fan of this franchise or just a gaming fan in general, you know for a long ass time Assassin's Creed fans have been begging for a game that takes place in Japan. I remember way back in middle school listening to my friend and his brother talk about how they like Assassin's Creed, but they're not going to play another one until a game takes place in Japan. But that dude is probably dusty old bones at this point, 6 feet in the ground, incapable of picking up a controller, but I'm not, so I've been playing it, and every moment of gameplay is filled with tension, or at least it feels that way, because not only is this a game, again on paper, that people have been begging for, but it's also in a way Ubisoft's last chance to win back some respect, or so it's being reported. I like Ubisoft for the most part. I think I like them more than the average fan. I do think they get a bad rap for the most part, though a lot of the criticisms towards that company in terms of the products they produce is absolutely justified. But between games like, again, the Ezio trilogy and Far Cry 3 and The Division, I'd be lying to you if I said that Ubisoft didn't give me some of my most memorable gaming moments. But it's also no secret that they've been a shadow of them former selves. Between games like Star Wars Outlaws and Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, their games aren't nearly as good or memorable as they used to be. It's just clear that Ubisoft really needs a win. They need to release a game that at least gives people faith that they are capable of still releasing something that's at least better than average, something with heart and substance, not just a product that marks things off of a checklist. So yeah, I was excited to play Assassin's Creed Shadows for those two main reasons. The first being to see if Ubisoft could make a somewhat good game again, and two, to finally return to a franchise that I've been meaning to return to for, again, well over a decade. So I'm gonna get into my review. I'm gonna show you guys some raw gameplay, and also it's worth mentioning here that I'm going into this review having not played Ghosts of Tsushima. I don't really know why I feel like saying that, but I feel like it's somewhat warranted because I know a lot of people are comparing those two games. But anyway, I'm gonna get into the review. I'm gonna show you some raw gameplay, but before I do that, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, I review games all the time on this channel. I do other video game discussions. I do day one reviews all the time. I just love sharing my passion for gaming, and I hope you guys join me. But enough with this introduction. Let's talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows.
A hero, huh?
Maybe compared to you.
You're a scavenger, like me.
You are a parasite.
So, as of the time I'm recording this video, I have about 20 hours in the game. I know that's probably rookie numbers for some of you, but for me, that's more time than I give most games that I play, and in my opinion, right now is probably no surprise if you read the title of the video, but I think it's pretty good. I'm not going to say the game is phenomenal and bound to blow your balls off. I'm not going to say it's a true return to form for Ubisoft or that it's as good as I remember the Ezio trilogy being, but I can confidently say that this is the most fun I've probably had in a Ubisoft game in a long time. Probably since Far Cry 5 came out in 2018. And with that being said, I'm not going to structure this video like I would for one of my typical reviews. Instead, I'm going to talk about something I think the game does really well. Then I'm going to balance things out and talk about something I think needs improvement. Something that's ultimately weighing the overall experience down. Then I'm going to do it again and again after that. I'm going to shoot for 2 positives and 2 negatives. But also, I want to know what you're thinking about the game. I haven't watched any other reviews. I haven't read any online discourse on this game or anything like that because I wanted my mind to be as blank of a slate as humanly possible. But now that I have my own thoughts formed, I'm genuinely curious what others are thinking of Assassin's Creed Shadows, especially if you're a dedicated fan of the franchise who has been waiting for this game for years. So let me know in the comments. But anyway, the first thing I think Assassin's Creed Shadows does pretty well is the world, and I know that's pretty broad, but unfortunately a lot of the worlds in recent Ubisoft games haven't been that great. They failed to live up to their potential for the most part. Like in Star Wars Outlaws, some of the worlds in that game looked really pretty and cinematic, and the graphics could be really, really great, and the worlds looked like they should have been a blast to play in and explore, but they just weren't. There was a lot of empty space, and the visuals were pretty, but exploration was mostly an inch deep, and somehow even random exploration managed to feel weirdly linear and not very open. And that's without even mentioning space travel and flying around in your spaceship, which I was so excited to do, by the way, but ultimately that was one of the most disappointing aspects of that game. And yeah, a lot of the same stuff can be said about Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. That world was stunning once again, but a chore to get around in and just not fun to be in. But luckily, Assassin's Creed Shadows doesn't really feel that way. The world is beautiful. That trend does continue. And over 20 hours in, I still find myself just gawking at some of the scenery and the landscapes. But luckily, unlike those other 2 games, it's not really a facade, at least for the most part. The world actually feels alive, like you're part of something bigger than yourself. Like when I'm riding my horse around or when I'm walking through a village, I actually feel like I'm in a world. It's not a Red Dead 2 level world, but still, I feel like I'm part of a bigger world. Where in Star Wars Outlaws, it felt like every NPC was a robot standing there, like they were part of the environment, like a steel pole or a trash can, and my character was the only sentient thing in the whole universe. And a small detail in this game that does contribute to it feeling more real and alive is that NPCs actually move when you bump into them. If you run into them with your horse, they'll get knocked over. You can even kill them. Where in Star Wars Outlaws and Frontiers of Pandora, again, they were rocks. They were, again, just part of the environment where they wouldn't even move if you hurled a grenade at their feet. Not only that, but the world is also fun to explore, and every time I enter a new region, I'm excited to see new shit. Again, I'm not gonna overhype it. This isn't The Witcher 3. You're not gonna be finding insanely memorable side quests and iconic gear sets hidden in all nooks and crannies, but still, for a Ubisoft open world game, it's better than most these days. The open world of Assassin's Creed Shadows, in my opinion, is far better and shits all over the worlds of Star Wars Outlaws and Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora.
Oh, my stomach! I'm starving! I'm so hungry, but I can't afford any rice. Can you help?
But in the sake of fairness, like I said, it does leave a bit to be desired, specifically in how the world is filled out, the actual activities that you're doing. And that brings me to my first negative, which is the quest design. So far, both main story quests and side quests are pretty forgettable, and it kind of feels like you're doing the same thing over and over. And I know you can say that about a lot of Ubisoft games or open world games in general, but it sticks out just a little bit more here. A lot of the assassination targets don't really stand out from one another. A lot of the locations where they're located, like castles, all feel the same. But in the Assassin's Creed games that I played, like the Ezio trilogy, they didn't really feel that way. Even the quests in the assassination missions, when they were technically similar in terms of gameplay and what you were doing, they stood out because the story and the narrative that surrounded them was so damn good. But Assassin's Creed Shadows doesn't have the narrative chops to help elevate some of the more stale gameplay components. And I know I said I was going to do a pro and then a con and then a pro and go back and forth, but now I have to talk about the story, so fuck it, let's jump straight into my second critique. I'm trying really hard to like this story, but I just don't. The narrative on paper is pretty cool. I like Naoe and Yasuke. I like their goal. I like the narrative setup. I like the tale of revenge. Again, on paper, the story should be fire. It should fuck hard, but it just doesn't. The way it's presented is so boring. It's like every character is on the verge of falling asleep and desperately needs to down a pint of coffee. The story tells us that there's stakes, but I don't feel those stakes. The story sets up so many characters that should be easy to root for, but I forget who's who 2 seconds after the game introduces me to them. And there are moments that the narrative does pick up for sure, and my ears perk up and I lean forward in my seat and I think to myself, okay, this is where it gets good. But then the next thing I know, I'm bored out of my mind again, staring at my phone, waiting for the cutscene to be over, just so I can go assassinate some fuckers. And I know all that sounds harsh, and it's meant to in a way. The story could be a lot better, and I hope the story in the next Assassin's Creed game is much better than this one, but still, the narrative is better than the narrative that was in Star Wars Outlaws and in Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. The story is still a step up for a modern Ubisoft game. And I do want to give credit where credit is due. Even though I'm not vibing with the story, even though I think it's kind of boring, it's clear there was effort put into it. The way the story is presented, the character arcs, the slow burn approach, the use of flashbacks, the complex politicking. There was clearly effort put into this script. Like, it's clear to me they were trying to tell a really good story, but again, at a little more than 20 hours in, it's just not clicking with me. However, there's still the possibility and plenty of time left for the narrative to win me over.
You have been taught well.
Let me show you how well!
But enough negativity for a few minutes. Let's get back into something positive about Assassin's Creed Shadows, and that's the core gameplay. I actually find it to be really fun. You play as Naoe, and I could be butchering the names, let me know if I'm wrong, but you play as her for the first chunk of the game. Depending on how you play and what quests you do, it could take you anywhere from 10 to maybe even 40 hours before you unlock Yasuke as a playable character. And at first, the combat can be clunky. It can feel a little too rough and not smooth enough. The old school Assassin's Creed games that I played had a free flow combat, kind of like the Arkham games or the Mad Max video game, but this game is a lot more modern. You can lock onto targets, you're expected to dodge and parry pretty often, and it requires a lot more skill to do so, and you unlock skills and abilities as you progress and as you get more powerful. And like I said, there is a bit of clunkiness to the gameplay that I've yet to find fully go away, but it does get better and less annoying as you play more and you get good, and as you unlock other weapon types, most of which are far more fun than the standard katanas are, by the way. But anyway, Naoe plays a lot like your traditional Assassin's Creed character. You gotta be stealthy. If you do engage in direct combat, it's pretty challenging. Blocking matters, parrying matters, you take a lot of damage, it's easy to die. And there came a point in the game where I thought combat was gonna suck, that it was gonna be just outright bad, but luckily just as I started to think that, I unlocked the first alternate weapon type for Naoe, and that made combat so much more enjoyable. Then after that, about 10 hours in, I started to feel like the game was already losing some of its gameplay chops, and I hung my head in sadness thinking I was gonna gonna tap out way sooner than I wanted to, but that's when I unlocked Yasuke, and he completely changes the entire way you play. He's a tank, he can take massive damage, and he can just unleash hellfire on practically anyone. He turns the game into easy mode, and he just feels entirely different to play as than Naoe. And it was at that moment that most of my gameplay red flags went away, and I accepted that this game most likely has enough going on for it in terms of the gameplay and the combat to hopefully keep me hooked the entire way through. But again, sometimes movement can feel a little clunky in tighter areas. Sometimes combat when you're fighting multiple people can be stressful, and like the game is kind of working against you in a way. And much like the Assassin's Creed games of old, there's gonna be a lot of annoying moments when it comes to the parkour system. You're gonna yell at your character and your TV for fucking up the simplest of requests from time to time.
Sakurai, I will free it from these pirates.
So yeah, like I say in the title of this video, like I've said already 2-3 times already, I do like Assassin's Creed Shadows. At the end of the day, I'm liking this game a lot more than I'm disliking it, though it's still not without its problems. But I do 100% wholeheartedly believe that this game is a huge, maybe not a huge, but this game is a noticeable step up from these two games. And that's a good thing, right? You want Ubisoft to at least be moving in the right direction, even if they didn't knock it out of the park, even if they didn't create a banger or a masterpiece. You want them to at least improve, and I do believe that this game improves in pretty much every category compared to these games. But I also kind of feel like this is going to be a backhanded compliment, because I am enjoying my time with Assassin's Creed Shadows. I do think I'm going to beat this game. I'm going to spend a lot more time playing this game after I upload this video, but every second that I'm playing this game, I kind of wish I was playing the Ezio trilogy or Assassin's Creed 3, or hell, I even wish that I was trying out the RPG trilogy. I feel like in my mind, if I'm at least liking this game, I think I would love Valhalla. I think I would love Origins. But yeah, anyway, that's my thoughts on Assassin's Creed Shadows after spending about 20 hours with the game. Again, I want to know your thoughts, especially if you're a fan of the franchise, but even if you're not, even if you're just a casual player or someone who hasn't played one of the Assassin's Creed games in years like myself, I'm curious about your thoughts too, so let me know in the comments. Once again, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and thank you for watching, especially if you watched this far.